So as we start talking about what does belong on a resume, let's start right at the top with the header. So what is a header? It's this part where the arrow is here with your name and contact information right at the top here. So let me start by saying I'm calling this a header, but it does not need to be formatted within the document as a header, like what Microsoft Word would consider a header. It actually works best if you put it in the body of the document with everything else, then you can adjust the spacing a lot more accurately. As you might have guessed, your name should be at the top of the document. Surprise! It should be pretty large, maybe even 22 or 26 point font and probably bolded. I would tell you to strongly consider putting this in all caps because that usually looks really good. If you don't prefer that, you can stick with regular text. You can include your middle initial if you'd like to, you don't have to. I would recommend either centering your name or justifying it on the right. For most resumes, the left side of the page is pretty text heavy, so putting your name on the right balances it out and it looks a little more modern. Centering is fine too, but just don't put it on the left, I would say. Underneath your name should be your contact information. Most importantly, your phone number and email address, as well as a city and state or province. This should be in about 10-point font or whatever size you're using for the bulk of your text on the page. Then list just one phone number and one email address. If you include more than one, the employer will be unsure about which one to use, so we don't want to cause them any uncertainty. So just one phone and one email address. For the city, some students feel strongly about including their college address. I would most of the time say use your hometown. In some cases, your hometown might be a disadvantage, and in that case, you can list Houston or Iowa since that's where you physically are. We don't need the full street address and zip code now. That's a trend in resumes these days. So make sure you're only using 1 or 2 lines for the contact information because this piece at the top is really valuable real estate and we don't want to use up a whole bunch of room just for contact information because it's not that exciting. Let's look at a couple of examples here. The first one has the name justified on the right. The contact information is all on one line, separated by bullets. If you want to put those bullets in there, if you're in Microsoft Word, you can click on Insert and then click on Symbol, and you can find a bullet in there and insert it there. The second example here, the information is all centered. Contact information is on 2 lines. Notice in both cases, the contact information and the name are justified the same. If the name is on the right, contact info is on the right. Name is centered, contact information is centered as well. Okay. Side note, please make sure that if you're listing a phone number here, that your voicemail greeting isn't silly or inappropriate. Okay, this is what an employer is going to hear if you don't pick up when they call. And let's face it, every impression counts when it comes to a job search. Also make sure when you list an email address that you're using one that sounds professional. Okay, your Dordt email address would be just fine. If you have a Gmail that sounds professional, that'd be good as well. Make sure you're just not using the Gmail account you made when you were 12 and it has a silly name like unicorn123 or something like that, okay? Make sure your email address sounds professional. So right here we have 2 great examples of a good header.